Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today we are talking about the top secrets of buying a home here in the state of Maryland and specifically what's going on in the market. As of today, we are sitting in mid to end of June 2022, and we're getting started right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we talk about all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information you're looking for, you are definitely in the right spot. And if you are considering whether making a move here to the state of Maryland is the right move for you and your family, we absolutely love answering any questions that you might have about that process, if that's the right move for you and your family, and just providing information so you can kind of go through that process and see if that's the right decision for you. Feel free to reach out any way that you feel most comfortable, whether that's by phone, email, or text. Days, nights, and weekends, we've got your back when moving here to the great state of Maryland. All right, so first off, I wanted to give you a quick update of what's going on here in the market as of mid to end of June 2022. And it's definitely changing. So we're seeing far less of the competitive nature that we were seeing 6 to 12 months ago, which is, I think, a really good thing. So it's definitely settling down. You're not seeing any more of the 5, 10 to 15 offers. You're seeing, homes starting to sit a little longer on homes that are priced right and that have been well taken care of and are well marketed. You're still seeing those homes sell in, the first weekend. Maybe there's 1, 2, or 3 offers. But the craziness as far as the 5, 10 plus offers is definitely settled down, and we're not seeing as much of that. And also with the market settling down, because of interest rates, and 6% interest rates will slow a market down like that pretty quick as well. So if it's been a little while since you've looked into the process, and maybe you were talking to someone 6 months ago, that's definitely a conversation you might want to start having again, just because interest rates have gone up pretty significantly. So when we were sitting at the first of the year, January 1, 2022, you were sitting right around 3 and an eighth for a 30-year mortgage. Today, it's about 6 and an eighth. So it's pretty much doubled in 6 months. So that's definitely something you want to keep an eye on, seeing kind of where that goes depending on your timeline and what those interest rates look like for you and how that impacts your payment and overall purchase price. And with that less competition means that offers are being more and more normalized as well. So when we were discussing, a year ago when buyers were doing things like waiving inspections, waiving appraisals, or doing a significant appraisal gap, that stuff has really settled down too. So it's really nice to see things kind of get back a little bit to normal, where we're still seeing a lot of as-is offers, but as-is where buyers can get in there, do full thorough inspections, and then reserve the right to terminate the contract. Or even your traditional inspections addendum where you can negotiate and have the right to negotiate repairs. So we're seeing that. We're seeing very few appraisal waivers, and we're just kind of seeing those contracts get back to normal, which is a really good thing. So that's something you can expect here in our market as well. And then next, I think even more and more our market's gonna hopefully stay this way. There's no way to know that for sure, but I think there's definitely gonna be more inventory coming up as well. So we've still got a decent pipeline of new construction properties coming, so that's gonna assist with just having options out there for buyers. And then with this market settling down and being much less competitive than it was, you're gonna have your typical sellers who wanna either move up or down in property who would be contingent, meaning they would have to sell their existing home in order to make their next purchase. With this market being a little more normalized now, those people are going to be able to jump into the market, and that's going to free up and bring to the market their existing homes. So you're going to see more inventory from folks in those kind of situations. So those are all good things with more and more expected homes to come to the market, which are just more options for buyers, and hopefully keeping this market pretty stable and less competitive than it was during the height of COVID. And then I know I had mentioned about interest rates increasing, but again, just want to reiterate this, with interest rates going up, this is definitely something that you want to be in touch with a lender about to see how this impacts you. In our industry, we basically have a generalization, and again, it's not perfect math, but it's a decent estimate for a lot of people, is that for every 1% interest rate increase, so from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 as an example, that's going to impact buyers their purchase price by about 10%. So if you're a $500,000 buyer at 3% interest rate, at 4%, now you're going to be roughly in the 450 range. And then from 4 to 5 is going to take you down to about 400. And again, this is based on the monthly payment. So because that's what most buyers are focused on, right? What's the monthly payment at that? So as those interest rates increase, it's going to roughly bring you down about 1% in purchasing power. So it's a generalization, but definitely something to keep in mind because it can impact things, especially as you start getting up in purchase price. It can start impacting things pretty quickly. So this is something you want to pay attention to. And another thing to keep in mind is that I've been hearing more and more from lenders mentioning ARMs again. So this is an adjustable rate mortgage. And this is probably just because of how quickly interest rates have gone up and how all over the place they are. So this is something you definitely want to be aware of. Most buyers, when they think of buying a home, they're just under that assumption of the 30-year fixed. So you want to make sure that when you're talking to a lender, you're being thorough and that the communication is there, that you're, talking about something that you're comfortable with and that you are assuming that you're going to be, using. So just make sure that you have those discussions. ARMs they're okay if you fully understand what you're walking into, but a lot of times they're going to have either like a 5 or a 10-year fixed option. And then after that, it becomes a variable. So this is very, very important for buyers to understand as interest rates stay volatile, and depending on where they go, these products may be around here for a while to give buyers options. So definitely something you want to be thorough with and make sure you're understanding exactly what the lender is proposing to you. All right, and next is going to be communication with the seller and the listing agent. And this is massive, especially in this market, specifically for the reasons that we just discussed. So interest rates being kind of so much in the mainstream news and everybody's aware of it, especially sellers. So if a seller is listing their home right now, they're very aware of the market. Hopefully they're aware of where interest rates are at. And this is just raising some concern on sellers' part as well as listing agents. So they want to make sure, with rates being all over the place and increasing so quickly, that buyers are very well qualified and that buyers are aware of the interest rate that they're looking at locking in today's environment, and not pre-approved buyers from 2 or 3 months ago where they think they're getting 4% and now it's 6 and an eighth, maybe 6 and a quarter, depending on where your credit score is at. So having that communication, and this is something that we heavily focus on with our buyers, is having that conversation in depth with sellers and with listing agents to ensure that they're aware of our buyers being super qualified in today's environment with where interest rates are at right now, so that they can kind of have that peace of mind knowing that these buyers are aware of what's going on and where rates are at. So, and believe it or not, that communication is fairly rare. So if you're competing against 1 or 2 other offers and you have that communication with that seller, that goes a very long way in making them feel comfortable and giving you the leg up on hopefully winning that offer with that seller. And then in regards to communication with sellers and their agents, listing agents as well, is as much as possible communicating some details of the buyer situation. Nothing that's giving away any personal information, but maybe giving some general information of what the buyers do for a living, to kind of give, again, it's kind of giving that seller, peace of mind, like, okay, I feel comfortable working with these people, because a lot of times they don't really get any information. So they're just looking at a piece of paper that says they're pre-approved, and they're just hoping and praying that that lender is qualified and did their due diligence and, thoroughly pre-approved that buyer. And that's not even a guarantee. So the pre-approval is only worth the paper that it's written on. And that seller, a lot of times, is just crossing their fingers, hoping that things get done. So if we can communicate to the listing agent and that seller that, hey, these are super well qualified buyers. This is what they do. They're W-2'd, income is super stable, and explain some of those. Here's generally where their credit score is at. It can kind of give that seller a lot of that peace of mind to where they a lot of times can bump you to the top of the list as long as the offer is competitive. So that's something that I really like to do, because a lot of times, especially with sellers that I'm working on, it's like I've got to harass those buyers agents just to try to get them on the phone and just to try to get some information from them and the lender. So if on the buyer side, if you're being proactive with that communication, that's huge every step of the way. All right, next are, as a buyer, making sure that you understand our various contingencies here in the state of Maryland, and that our contract provide buyers. So this is something, especially as I mentioned with the market calming back down, where you should hopefully have the ability to have all these contingencies in place and not have to waive these, which is an awesome thing. It makes me excited to see buyers, not have to, give these up anymore. So the first thing is going to be inspections. And there's a couple ways that you can go about doing this. You can do an as-is addendum, as I mentioned before, and as-is with right to terminate. So what that means is that our as-is addendum gives you a specific timeline from the date of accepted contract. So a lot of times it's 7 to 9 days. So you have 7 to 9 days to do any inspections that you want to do on the home. And the most common ones are structural, mechanical, inspecting for radon gas to see where the levels are at, and checking for termite, make sure that it's clear there. And if the home's built before 78, maybe considering lead-based paint, depending on how you feel about that. And then from there, you have the unconditional right to terminate the contract if you're dissatisfied in any way with the inspection. So, and even from there, we have some flexibility, right? So as the buyer, you have that leverage of that right to terminate. So sometimes if it's one or two, health or safety concerns, we can leverage that right to terminate to try to get the seller to work with you. Hey, Mr. Seller, can you give me some sort of credit to help me offset this thing that I'm going to be, looking to do after closing? So we can kind of get creative with that if you want to try to stay in the deal, or you just reserve that right to walk away from that deal and get your earnest money back in full. The earnest money is going to be that deposit that's given up front once you get an accepted offer. So inspections are number one. Next is going to be your financing and your appraisal contingencies. So these are very important to have within the contract. The financing contingency is going to protect you that if something were to happen, if you were to lose your job or something were to substantially change from the date of accepted offer to anywhere in between closing time on that home, if you were to not have the ability to purchase due to financing, it's going to give you that right to back out of the contract and to get your earnest money back. So that's important. We always make sure that that's included through a financing addendum specific to the type of financing you're getting. So if it's a conventional loan, there's a specific conventional financing addendum. FHA has the same, and then VA is going to follow suit. And then within that financing contingency addendum, it's going to be your appraisal contingency. So this is going to protect you so that you're not overpaying for the home. So, right. So you may agree to pay $500,000 for this home, but the bank is going to say, look, we want you to have protection in there to make sure that it's actually, its fair market value is 500. And if it's not, then that protection there gives you the right to negotiate and try to get that seller to come down. And it does not force you to go through with that contract if it does not appraise for at least 500 or more. So we've always got that in there to make sure that you're protected. The next contingency is going to be the HOA review period. So this is something where if there's a condo fee, if there's an HOA, and they're separate. So because sometimes a property could have an HOA and a condo. So they're separate. HOA has a 5-day review period from the date that you receive a full resale package. And that's an unconditional right to terminate as well. So if you even change your mind, you can cancel that contract. Same thing with condo, but condo is a 7-day review period. And I got to be honest with you, most people, and when I mean people, most sellers do not order these resale packages until they get a contract on a home. And the reason for that is because the packages come at a cost. So they're usually anywhere from $300 to $400. So a seller wants to, at least this is what I think their psychology is they want to wait until they have a committed buyer in order to order that. I always try to get my sellers to order it earlier because I want that review period to come and go before we get into the later stages of the deal. So, but everyone's a little different with that. But what I've noticed is most common is for sellers to wait until they get a contract to order that. So by the time you're getting that package, 9 times out of 10, you're already under contract on the deal and you have that review period contingency in place. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And then lastly is going to be clear title protection. So if there's any issues when the title company goes and does their due diligence on your behalf to look for clear title, if there's anything that pops up, any red flags, you're going to be fully protected unless that can be fully cleared prior to you purchasing the home. So in Maryland, buyer gets to choose and select the title company. So that's something you can be starting to prepare for. If that's something you want to do, of course, a lot of times buyers don't have those. So if we're representing a buyer, we've got a great team that we've worked with for years who do an extremely thorough and good job, with their attorney to make sure that they're looking through the abstract and all the documents that are available through public record to ensure that you're getting clear title. And then a good, thorough owner's title policy is going to protect you if anything pops up after the fact. So having clear title is something that's always a protection as well for you as a buyer here in Maryland. All right, and then last topic is, I've been getting these questions a lot, is are there any deals out there yet? And so this is something that I wanted to address real quick. So there's not widespread deals. The market is still, by the numbers in the seller's favor, but it's just leveling out. So we're just not seeing the craziness, the level of competition that we were seeing 6 to 12 months ago, which I think is good and healthy. So that was not a good trajectory for the overall market. But if you are someone who's looking for a deal, this is something that we're going to start to see a little more of. So my main tip for this is going to be wait to see if that property can survive its first full weekend on the market. And then at that point, this is something where you can, try to get a little bit of a deal on. And the reason why I say this is every seller is a little different. What is their mindset and what is their thought process coming into this sale? So, you still see a decent amount of sellers who are kind of living in the market 6 to 9 months ago, which I think is a little dangerous for them because the market has, it's already started to turn a little bit. Not completely, but, things changed, slightly, but it has been, fairly quick, and mainly due to interest rates. Buyers just, it's really settled demand, and it's definitely changing things. So if you are looking for that deal, paying attention to days on market. How long has it been on the market, making sure it's not brand new. And then at that point, kind of discussing some strategy of what is, what's possible with that deal, doing a thorough, analysis of the property, what's its true market value and where is it priced? Because that's another thing with sellers. So how do they interpret the market right now? Are they aware of exactly where we're at, or are they still thinking that they're going to get multiple offers on that property? Did they significantly underprice that property in order to try to generate multiple offers, or are they listed already at market value? So kind of going into these things and trying to, analyze exactly where they're at and what's possible, with that home. So as you start to see that home approach 5, 6, 7+ days on the market, this is going to be definitely in the buyer's best interest. And there's going to be more opportunity for that buyer to maybe get a price reduction, and maybe get some more favorable terms and conditions on that property. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out. We can discuss some strategy for you there and some thoughts and ideas of how you can get something, some sort of deal on a property out here. So appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we'll see you at the next video.